for Facebook Live.
Okay. Good morning, America, I would say. A wonderful good morning from South Africa. We are here today with Akeshi Akinseye from Kesh Events in America. A very, very warm welcome, even though that we have winter here. So, however, we say warm welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to do this.
It is wonderful to have you. And beside like the story that you have your very own story, we would like to hear a little bit about also later on the situation in the US in terms of having weddings, having events. What's the situation? What are the limitations? But first of all, we want to know how did all started? How actually Kesh Events was born?
Okay. Yeah. So it's 8 or a little bit over 8 years now. So I actually started my first dream was to have a catering company, believe it or not. And then that was quickly not my interest. And then
you're not alone. There's so many of us. They had a first life and that was not
yeah. It's what I love about our creative industry is it's a journey. So you're probably not going to get it right the first time, and that's okay. And you have to be open to the lessons and the signs. That I have a huge respect for caterers, but it wasn't for me. But it allowed me to find my way to what I truly love. I started designing 6 years ago. I used to say, when I was much younger, like, I don't like flowers. I used to say that all the time. And then I find myself designing. So everything I've kind of done is self-taught. And I've just kind of, I never went to floral school. I've teaching myself even flower names and things like that. So that's just been a journey for me. So I launched starting with planning, then I started designing. And I have an educational platform, the Kesh Experience, where I coach and teach other creatives to be the best they can be and how to succeed in their business. So it's just been a journey and unraveling, and I just let things, I pay attention to the signs. If I have I guess a definition of a go-getter. I don't like to sit on stuff. If I have an idea, I'm going to go for it. And then if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'll take my lesson. So that's just how I
break all walls down around you. You just go.
I just go. If I have an idea, I don't like to sit on it because I feel like while I'm sitting, someone else is going to do it. So I just like I have to try. I give myself the chance to try. And it's worked out so far, and if there's an idea, I think a lot of times people are afraid. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid of what people would think and what people would say. But I don't live my life for people. I live my life for me. And I owe it to myself to explore, that passion. So that's basically how I roll.
And I love that so much that you say that, because as when I just can interrupt, this is what a lot of people, they talk about a lot of things, and when you meet them a year later, they still talk about that. Another year later, they still talk about that, but they have never done it.
Yeah, it's I would love to. I'm like, what's stopping you? It's as simple as buying a domain. Like, I just think of stuff and I just go for it. I get a website, I buy the domain, I do all those, and I just try, and you kind of have to teach yourself constantly to not worry so much about what people are thinking and what people will say. Imposter syndrome is real, and I talk about it a lot in my podcast because fear is probably the number one crippler of a business. Because we're always just wondering and thinking, is this good enough? Or am I ready? But I've only been in business this long. That's not the goal. The goal is to at least try. And
I think it's also failure in your mind. It's something that is a mental a block, or you're blocking yourself. Because if you just, like, as you say, if you don't try, you'll never know. And I think it's, I don't have kids, but it's the same. I assume, like with kids, you're never ready. The time is really like not the right time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Specifically for ladies, it's never the right time. But you have to just like go out there, do it, and then just see how you coordinate and how you're managing your life around it. And it will come.
Yeah, it kind of has to feel like just breathing. Like, you have to do it. You have to wake up. You have to get it done. And it doesn't matter what you pick. It's going to require hard work. It's going to require creativity, you know, so all those things are going to be there. If you choose to be an entrepreneur, you have to be ready to jump into the fire and, you know, just deal. So that's my mentality, and I just go. So
now I know why we are coming so nicely along, because we have some similarities. Like
yeah,
sometimes you run against the wall when you want to break the wall down, but that's a bit hurtful. But nonetheless, you have to try to break the wall down, I
you have
think.
to try. Yeah. You know, I listen to a lot of stories and podcasts from successful people, and their stories are similar. You know, they have multiple streams of income. They've dabbled in a few things. They've taken risks. They've falling. They've gotten up. You know, they bumped into the wall, and then they keep trying. But
Yeah.
it's the same story, and it works. I think, you know, again, the number one problem is fear. And, you know, fear leads to self-doubt, low self-esteem, imposter syndrome. And I think that a lot of people are crippled by that. So, but it takes work. You know, if you block out the noise, you get more clarity on what you really want. And I'm like, just close your eyes and do it. Yeah.
Correct. And can
Love
I
that.
ask you, like after maybe looking at catering, like why particularly like weddings? I mean, you could maybe also go into the corporate world, but what attracted you to specifically weddings?
Yeah, it's the people thing. You know, there's a pride. There's something in what we do as wedding planners that feels like there's a certain, you know, sense of pride that I know for me, and I do other celebrations. It regardless, it has to be memorable. So just that responsibility of saying like I was a part of the beginning of that journey, you know, for the client is huge for me to, you know, and it's something you can't undo. That's why I tell people like you have to be very careful what you do, because whatever they leave with is forever. They're always going to remember my wedding day and how either you made it good for them or bad. You know, so I'm like, I do not want that responsibility of anything but great. So I want to make sure their memories of me for their wedding is, so to me, I feel like there's just that strong bond and relationship building that I love. And honestly, for my clients, I'm a part of their journey. When they get pregnant, I get a text. When they have a baby, we start browsing baby shower ideas. Like it's a journey, you know, we remember birthdays and anniversaries, and we still stay in contact. They refer their friends, they stay connected on social media. It's just so fulfilling. Like this is a very hard job. I never sugarcoat that wedding planning is like the movie. It's not. It's probably one of the hardest jobs ever. But that's why we do it.
You can make another movie of it.
Right. It's not like it is on television. It's not headphones and beautiful clothing. It's hard work. It's, you know, but we do it willingly, but you know, I do it with pride. I love that I'm part of that journey. And, you know, honestly, it takes trust too for someone, a total stranger, to say, hey, take on like my big day. It's a big deal. So I don't take it for granted. And I love that portion. I would take a corporate gig, by the way, but weddings are just, you know, so dear to my heart. And I always remember how I felt planning my wedding and what I want them to feel.
And you have done a great job so far, I can just say. I mean,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Whatever you do is close to perfection. I can just say that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Also, your teaching. I mean, you are well known even here in Africa, because you have been in other parts of the world already doing your teachings, and you share the knowledge. And I think this is also something which is very important, but also not very common, that a lot of people share their knowledge, because it is important to share the knowledge, because as good as our colleagues are, as good as the entire industry, we are always saying we are as good as the weakest link, you know. And when there is a lot of like people, they are not so much educated, it's difficult for the entire industry then to deal with it.
Absolutely.
So what is your goal, or what is your vision when you look at like your teaching or your coaching line? So where do you want yourself, maybe, or even like Kesh Events, go in that direction?
Yeah. So the Kesh Events, like my business is fine. It's a nicely oiled ship right now, where, you know, I'm always trying to edit and make it better. but I feel like we have a solid foundation on that. My start for teaching was I used to get a lot of DMs and questions, and my biggest challenge was I couldn't help everyone via DM, via email. Everybody wants a mentor, everybody wants a coach. So I was like, I'm going to create a platform where I do one-on-one coaching, then I host my workshops, my floral workshops in Chicago. But because one of the things too is on the outside, people are yet to take wedding planning seriously. It's not looked at as a real job, and in order for them to take it seriously, people on the outside, we have to take ourselves seriously, and we have to do things in the right order. We have to look professional. We have to be professional. We have to sound professional. We have to be educated. So I figured that's my goal, is to educate as much as possible so the industry as a whole is taken seriously, first and foremost, so we can start getting paid what we're actually worth. Because for a lot of people, event planning is not a real thing. It's just, is this your hobby? Like, people are like, is this your full-time job? I'm like, yes.
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
It's not a hobby.
Oh, you are not the
job,
person of the bride. Oh, who are you?
Mm-hmm. But it's also how we present it. I always say, like, don't be afraid to state your prices. You don't have to stutter when you're telling people what you're worth. Because when you go get your brakes fixed, when you walk into a retail store, it's a flat rate. They tell you right away, and you either buy it or you don't. So our services shouldn't be treated any differently, but it's how we present ourselves. So if as an industry, we can get together and be on the same page, the world will have to take it seriously. And that's my goal, because I see a lot of things being done the wrong way. And it's just truly from a lack of knowledge. And for some people, they don't want to invest in that because education is not really a part of the business plan, but it should be. So I offer free trainings and coaching, and then I have my membership, Creators Corner, for planners and designers. It's a month-to-month membership group. And so as much as I can, I extend myself. I launched a podcast to share more, education on everything business, so wherever I can insert little bits and pieces. If one person leaves there more informed than they came in, then I feel like we're doing something. But the goal is to educate worldwide. We all want the same things. We want to grow, we want to make money, but we also want a chance to showcase our talent and be better. So I think education should be, worldwide and universal, because the goal is the same.
Yes. Can you just say, because you just mentioned your podcast, and I think I just want to pick up on that. So when people are interested, maybe like to listen to it, just tell people, like, where can they find the podcast?
Yeah.
What is the name of the podcast?
Of course. So it's Let's Talk About It with Akeshi Akinseye, and it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Spotify, and it's on Google Play. But it's Let's Talk About It. It's where I just talk about different topics. Then I try to catch up and do a bonus episode every Friday, really quick, like 5 tips under 10 minutes. But I talk about different things, branding, fear, things that people are afraid to talk about. So that's where I feel like, and people really register because I get DMs and thank you for saying that's how I've been feeling. I've just been too afraid to admit it or to say it out loud. Because
what is it? What is it? What people are afraid to talk about?
Fear. They're afraid to acknowledge what they're afraid, like fear. Do you see people a lot saying, "Oh, I'm so afraid"? No one really talks about that, or your self-doubt. When you ask, those things they're saying in their head. Like I tried to talk about things that you would type in Google and not ask out loud. When you're doubting, like, am I good? Am I really good enough? Or who's going to care? Because, and I say, when you say these things out loud, you'd be surprised how many people actually feel that way. Yeah. So I try to talk and it's very candid. It's, I bring in guests, so I share their experiences. I like to bring people that can also share their expertise. And we've talked about self-care, the importance of self-care as a business owner. We don't discuss that enough. We're all about work, but you have to replenish and you have to refresh. So right now, the last 3 months, like you said, has been challenging. So people have not really, I've been asking, like, what do you do for yourself? What do you do once a week that's for you? Whether it's working out or meditation or yoga or just reading a book, you have to give yourself time to clear your head, because it's last 3 months has been extremely stressful and unpredictable, right? But how are we staying sane? Are you, what are we doing? Because if you're not well, your business is not going to be well and your team is not going to be well. So we need
when you are exhausted, you cannot energize.
You're not working at your full potential. So that actually is harming your business and you don't even know it. When you have fear and you have self-doubt and you want to launch a really good idea and you sit on it, like you said, for 1 or 2 years, that's self-care. You're not acknowledging your mental side of your business. But there's two. We have a physical and we have our mental. But if our mental is not right, nothing is going to work. Your team is going to see it. You're not working at your full potential. You may be able to be more creative if you clean out your head a little bit. So I'm like, do what you got to do. If you have to dance around your house, I recommend a dance party every day. Just wake up, crank up some music. I'm still serious. And just dance like no one is watching. My husband thinks I'm nuts. Like I just start dancing out of nowhere. And when I'm done, I'm like, okay.
Well, we
do. Doesn't it feel amazing? It feels amazing. And then you feel like you can conquer the world, but you've let all that stuff out. It's so important. I wish I could dance with everyone every morning. Like I highly recommend, like when my team is like, I'm like, throw yourself a 5-minute dance party. Just dance.
Yeah, but you don't have to be really like professional dancer, like what you want to say.
Oh no, dance like you've lost your mind. Yeah, it's a release.
Just do how you feel.
Exactly.
It works. It works so well. Deep breathing works, meditation, all these free apps. But as business owners, we cannot ignore that side. Yes, you can educate yourself, but to be honest, sometimes too much education is overwhelming. So there's got to be a nice balance of, I try to take one piece of new information every day. So I educate myself, whether by reading something or listening to another podcast once a day, like maybe when I'm brushing my teeth or something, when I'm in a shower, I connect them to the speaker. But I'm absorbing new information every day. But sometimes our brain goes into overload and we have to release that somehow, or you get frustrated.
But in the shower, I can tell you, you deserve to be alone.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you are right. I mean, generally, I think we as like entrepreneurs, and particularly for the events and weddings industry, our lives, like also like pre-COVID, was very stressful. You know, I mean, we're working when other people are having a good time. We're working on weekends when other people enjoying their time off. We're working on public holidays when other people are going on vacation. We're working like in the week towards the weekend to make someone else's like day perfect. And we usually are not really considering us as important in like as ourselves. I mean, we are at service to other people. And this is, I think, how we like usually sometimes forget that we are important too, just to be at service for other people, because without us, the whole like it's like a house like made of cards, you know. So when you take out a piece, the whole thing will fall into each other. And I think that is something that we have now maybe also in the first 4 weeks of lockdown and of COVID have experienced, that we were just exhausted, you know. I mean, we were sleeping, but we, like on a normal, like in a normal way, you cannot sleep in, because you are just in that routine. You are just there. You have to wake up early. You have to stay up late. You just have to like get through all the things. And now I think a lot of people, like not only from the events industry, but a lot of entrepreneurs particularly, have felt like that they could breathe in a way, like in a way that
you had the inner peace. I think that
because nothing in the world was working. When you woke up at 6, at 5, at 9, at 10, at 11, it didn't matter. And
after 45 years, actually, I woke up one day at 11 o'clock. Can you imagine? 45 years ago, that was the last time when I woke up at 11.
And prior to, if you slept in, you felt guilty. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're like, oh, I need to get up. I'm like, says whom? This is the reason why I created my business, so I have the flexibility of resetting. And if that means I sleep in 1 day or 2 days, I do. And that's nothing wrong with that. because everyone functions differently. So you're so right. Like I felt like I was like, I've been hustling for 8 years. I'm tired. So the break during COVID was almost like a forced reminder of how much of myself I've let go, and how much more I could have been doing if I actually had a balanced way of functioning. So, I bought an indoor bike and I cycle 5 days a week. Honestly, I'm not doing it to lose weight. I'm just doing it to clear my head. So when I sweat and I let go, I feel better because that was, it was a lot to process. You were like, how are we going to make money? Where do we get our next client? Do we close our office? Do we keep the office? Is it a shared space? And I was like, oh, we have to let this all go. So I've just been incorporating things. And then we have to learn to get off social media sometimes. It's just too much. Everyone has news, everybody's CNN. So everyone has a link to share. Everyone has false information. Like it's just a lot of stuff. And, sometimes you need to allow yourself a social media detox. And if that means
go back to the real life.
Yeah, and even nature.
And some quiet and stillness. And you can't do so on Facebook all the time. There's just so much information that we're absorbing and we don't understand the effects till one day you're like, I'm exhausted. And
that's really that is exactly how sometimes you feel. You scroll and you don't even want to look. You think like you have to look, but you don't even want to look.
You don't have to look.
That's actually exactly what it is.
Yeah, you don't have to look if you don't want to. So a lot of times I'm like,
but you have to figure this out.
But for you, it's about you and it's for you. It's not for anyone else. You deserve that quiet. And stillness is hard for us because our brains are always producing something, worrying about something, cooking up something. I can't even meditate if I have to like force myself to like concentrate. And because I'm like, wait, when do I blog? And I need to start writing a new blog. And I'm thinking of all these things. That's natural, but we have to find ways to control that so that we can give our best. Because when all of this is over, we're going to go back into double the work that we were doing. And all these things that we're doing now is going to set us up for how we end up on the other side. So if you're still overloading yourself right now, you're not going to have any energy left to tackle what's coming, So instead, I spent time blogging easily or working on little things on my business or thinking of new ideas that I can launch, right? And how internally my business can be better. I have fun conversations with my team. It's not too serious and we just brainstorm. We talk about family and life and we catch up, right? So, but while you're doing that, you'd find the ideas come back clearer and it's not out of stress. When you work under a stressful situation, you actually do more damage than good. But when you give yourself clarity, new ideas come up, right? And you're like, oh, I might have never thought about that, and then you're like,
yes,
it feels more natural. And then you're more excited to pursue that. So that's the going back to what we're saying, when you reset and give yourself some self-love and some self-care, beautiful ideas, new creative ideas, innovation happens, right? When you kind of defog, so to say. But nothing new and fun is going to come out of a fogged brain. It's a clogged brain. It's just not going to work, So that's what I've been doing mostly. And then when we talk about hope, by thinking of new ideas and being innovative, then you're hopeful because you're like, oh, that's a nice other source of income, or why did I think about this before? Like, I see designers and I'm doing this and we're launching like Blooms by Kesh, which is like a subscription service for flowers. And I was like, why didn't I think about this a long time ago? If I'm known for anything, it's floral. I'm like, I've never even put that option where people can have me in their homes and don't have to get married, right? And it all came from
the same situation.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, carry on. Just carry on. Sometimes there's a little delay. Sorry.
No. You go ahead.
Now, what I want to say, we also have spoken to some of our florist client,
Mm.
and they also had to find a way, like, because there's no weddings and there will no weddings be for the next 6 months. Like,
Mm.
this is our situation here in South Africa. So they had to find also different ways. And while we were talking, they came up with like home deliveries
Mhm.
with sustainable flowers, like forever flowers, like dried, like bunches, bouquets,
Yeah.
with even some, they said, they went into funeral floristry because they have never thought about that, and not because of COVID, because maybe so many people die. I mean, every day people die on a normal, like, on a
Yeah.
normal base,
And they're always
I mean,
buying flowers.
and they,
So yeah.
yeah, and I also need flowers. I mean, and never they thought about that, and because we were also busy, as Alfie said, nobody had really the time to think about innovative things, new things. And they were also comfortable in their little corner on the sofa, like, you don't have to move. So,
Agreed. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
now
So
we all have to move.
my hope too is that we don't make the same mistake again. So I say I've been asking my coaching group, like, if something like COVID happened in 2 years, what would you have done? What did you learn from this, and what would you have done to be ready for the next because there's gonna be something else, right? That level of comfort is a problem. So I'm like, we are creatives. We're good at a lot of things, and we just never tapped into it because we're comfortable in the fact that who would have ever said, oh, we're going to have a period in time where all weddings are canceled and we're all going to be
Yes.
sitting home for 3
Nobody would
months.
have believed it.
People would tell you you've lost your mind, right? Right. This is wedding season and we're all like, oh, it's Saturday. What are you doing? Normally we're like deep in flowers and we're, sweating and schlepping stuff up and down. Now it's like, okay, so if this happened again, what did you learn and what have you done to prepare for that? Do you have, because we're all talented in multiple things, we just refuse to tap into it. So how can you use your talents and create different things? And myself as an educator, maybe I don't focus so much. One of the things we came up with was like, okay, also want to open up coaching for creatives, period, business owners, or for female business owners. There's so many of us. There are people that have shops on Etsy. There are people that sell gift boxes, soap, cosmetics, candles. Everybody needs education. So there's so much. But like you said, no time because we're so busy, catering to our clients that we've never really even thought of. Even if we thought about it, we had no time for implementation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now
and
it's
I
like,
also go ahead.
Oh no! So I was just saying now is the time to do those things because we're going to go back to not having time anymore eventually. Like, and this time has gone by so fast. It was March last week, and now it's June. It's mid-June.
Yes.
So
It's like one day.
yeah, I was like, wait, what's going on? It's like middle of summer, so or summer now. So I'm just like, we can't sit on these good ideas anymore. We just have to try. And to be honest, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But what if it's successful and what if it works and what if, and I don't want to be in a what if position all my life. I want to know that I actually tried. And sometimes it's not that it's a failure. It's just might be your business model. You have to tweak. Like we talk about flowers. Flowers are forever. People are always going to want flowers. It doesn't have to be Mother's Day. There's always going to be an anniversary. There's always going to be a birthday. There's always going to be something. So it's just a matter of how you can deliver it and how you can put your spin on it. Because if everybody's doing the same thing, what makes yours unique? What special spice can you put on it to make it, add that wow factor? That's what we need to spend time doing. It's like, what's my voice? What's different? Why am I different? Or what little thing, what tweak can I do? If everybody's doing flower boxes, what makes mine different? That's where you need to start thinking. That's where we need to spend our time. Everybody's planning. What can I add in my services to make me stand out as a planner? Or maybe you look at your current way of doing business and how you can be better, how your team can be better. Look at your internal system and your structures and say, oh, this actually, when I look at this, maybe we need to tweak this or get rid of this part of the business model. So there's so many things that we can be doing besides, being stressed out. So I I made effort to not be in that space of panic and anxiety, and just channel my energy into being creative, and then being supportive to other creatives that were in that weird space of like not knowing what to do. So
panic is never a good
advisor.
Advisor. I think in always in life, but also what we have seen, and what maybe we learned also to actually live this like additionally to what we have done. Never stay only on one leg. This is what we see at the wedding planners right now. And I mean, there was nothing wrong, and I'm not blaming anyone to be a pure wedding planner. That was the profession that everyone had, and they had to focus on it. But they are actually hit at the moment at the most. And because if there is no wedding planner need, there is no work, there is no money, there is no nothing, and if you have not enough savings, you have a problem. And I think like what we have experienced by having the two companies, the wedding planning company as well as the flower trade, I mean, there was also like about at 8 weeks time where we could have no flowers at all here in South Africa. There was no flower available, no local trade, no local farm could sell any flower. I mean, that is also a very unique situation, and it was very bad, not only for us as trader, but also for farms. We hear from farms they are not carrying on farming because of the situation,
because of the losses.
But also it showed us, like, luckily I mean, we have not really chosen it. I must be very honest. I don't want to take the credit for it. It happened that we had the two companies, and we just carried on.
We took the opportunity and went with it. And I think that is also what maybe people like, they should walk with open eyes, because there will be opportunities presented to them that in most cases you maybe don't even pick up, because you think, oh my goodness, what is this, it will take a lot of time, a lot of effort to actually make this work. But there's always a door that will open for you if you really look. I think there's always something, as an entrepreneur also, you have that spirit. I mean, you see opportunities where other people maybe don't see any, but you as an entrepreneur, you have this drive, you want to achieve something, you want to reach a certain goal, and you need, like, obviously a certain creative outlet to do that. But I do believe in our industry also, not everything has been done yet. There's still so much that people can do, and because it's creative, there's no limit. You cannot limit yourself to creativity, because that is the market that you are in.
Exactly.
So that is also something that I hope people will take away. Like when you said, you wanted to maybe start off in the catering industry, but look at where you are now. Like, I mean, catering is just like a certain piece.
It's it's one step.
Yeah.
But
it's not your end destination.
That's why I shared that you're never going to know exactly what you're doing or what you need to do right away. It's not like, oh, this big, bag of clarity. But by allowing yourself into these uncomfortable situations, you get clearer on even things that you like and things you don't like. Sometimes you think you like something till you do it and you're like, oh no. And maybe sometimes wedding plans is not for you at all. Maybe when you do one wedding, you're like, okay, maybe I'll do corporate. Everyone but you have to allow yourself those opportunities to try and explore. But going back to opportunity, you're not going to see the opportunity if you're not clear. So I think people miss that a lot. If you're not mentally okay, if you're not in a good space, that door will be right in front of you. You'd never see it because you're so jammed in here. So we have to, even in the morning, I'm like, if you can set, do a gratitude practice or set your intentions for the day and focus on those intentions so there are no distractions. But we just have to work on ourselves every day so we can be better people, and then we're a happier version of ourselves, and we're able to manage these uncomfortable, stressful situations better. Because, practice, even in the office, we have yoga mats because I'm like, do we need a midday meditation session now? If you need to, you're welcome to put in your headphones and sit or lay for a second, because that is what we need. When, we have to stop being so afraid of dealing with talking about these difficult things, because that's how we're able to allow new things in. We have to just clear our heads. We really do. I wish there were a place where we can go as creatives for like group therapy or something, but we need it. We really do need something. And each person's thing is different. Prior to COVID, kickboxing was my thing. I would just go and like punch bags, and I don't know if it worked, but it was fine. But it was a temporary fix, to be honest. But really, really just channeling your own. I don't, I can do this on my own, where I don't rely on going to a place to clear my head. I can sit in a corner. I can sit on my mat. I can, recenter. So I've been really, really focusing on that. And when I'm done, I can work on the business, and I find that it's just a lot easier. But like I said, there's nothing that's new under the sun that's never been done before. What's different is the fact that no one can do it the way you would do it. That's unique. So doubt comes from, but everybody's doing it. I'm like, so what? I'm like, you have different grocery stores that have the same thing, but people still patronize them. So you're going to add your twist or your unique experience to everything, and that's what makes it different. Because
I mean, there are millions of designers, they all produce clothing, but you all are going to go to a different designer because you like different styles. And like, this is the same thing for any creative industry, whatever it is. There's a lot of like personality that plays a huge role apart from the quality and the product that you are delivering. But personality is one of the key elements that you can also, I think, right now work on, even if you do not have any clients. But like personal branding and branding of your company is something that will help you when everything is going back on track, to actually get people like on board that are buying into you, because they're buying first of all into you as a person before they're buying into your products.
Look at things that, like, we have to take a hard look at ourselves internally and say, what's working? What am I not doing well? What am I doing half-ass? What do I need to fix? What could be better? What part of my team could be better? And when we get better internally, then you're ready for, it's not about, oh, I need weddings and weddings. Okay, when you get them, are you giving it are you at 100%? And the answer, if we look at it, is no. There's always something that we can, I always say I'm always editing my business, because there's always something to do. There's always something that can be better. There's always something that I can elevate, so that you don't need a wedding to do that. You can sit down and say, let's look at the structure of my processes and what needs to change. What do I need to adjust? What could be, how can I, achieve this luxury status everyone keeps talking about? But luxury starts from inside. It's the experience you create for your clients. So maybe, look at your website and just look at little things that you can tweak. Maybe you tweak your copy. All these stuff we didn't have time to do, you can do it now. So when we're back to business, whatever that version is, you have something that is already clean and revamped for people to look at. Everybody's online right now. So I'm like, half the people still don't have websites. I'm like, if there was ever a time to build a website, to be this, maybe now, we've been home for 3 months. If there was ever time to start posting on social media more than ever before, and I've been screaming that, maybe this is that time, so there's just so much that we can do. Anything else that we're not doing are just excuses at this point, because it's like, okay, I don't have time. And then COVID gave you time. I don't have this.
This is really true. And I mean, we have taken the time to create a new web shop for our flowers. I mean, it was already planned and started before COVID, but we have taken really also an investment on the design. We are using a South African designer that actually helped us very, very much. And like under normal circumstances, when you have no income, you would actually say, no, we are not going to spend like any money, and not even for a designer, you know, like,
Right.
I mean, this is luxury. But we have taken the decision to invest in this luxury, and I think definitely it will help us after COVID to increase our business, and to like bound differently with our clients.
Absolutely. And you get to invite more clients in because you've done the work. I would say, like, you just have to get it done. It should be a natural part of your business process, and spending on your branding always as you would your rent. It's not an option, in my opinion. It's not something you say, I'll do it later. Because everything else you're doing that leads to that site that's not right is it just literally, it's a waste of money, it's a waste of time. People were running by ads. I'm like, but when they find the ad, when they do find you on social media, when you've done all that work, what do they get to see in the end? If you skip that part of the business and you think it's not important, you're working backwards because you're just wasting your time. Then you're going to get frustrated and like, why isn't it working? And then, so I'm like, just let's work in an order that is important. I'm like, let's work on the back end and then you work on the front end. But in the end, where people land when you're asleep in the middle of the night is your website. So if you're, like you're saying, you made that choice to make that investment, are you spending money? Absolutely. Is it scary? Absolutely. Is it going to work? Yes. Because it's how business works. It's not magic. You do the work. You invest in a business, you're consistent, it will work because it works for other people, and they're not more special than us. So we just have to keep doing things the proper way and doing things in the right order.
Yes. Can I ask you just one, going back to weddings in the US?
Oh, sorry, you froze.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, it's froze for a second. Sorry. Go ahead. Uh-oh.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Okay. I don't know what happened. It like.
Can you hear us now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Sorry. Maybe that's our internet connection.
Yeah, there was a big wave on the ocean.
Can I ask you just one more thing, going back to your weddings? And I think that is like interesting maybe for people to hear. How do you see the future of weddings in the US? Like, what maybe are the possibility or even the limitations for weddings in the US? I mean, I know you also do destination weddings, but what right now is the situation for a wedding planner in the US?
It's different state by state, but it's slowly going back. I think this year the max we'll probably see is 50. But people are planning weddings of 10, 30, 50. But it's not up to us. It's up to your state, right? And where you live. Same thing with that. I can't create a desk if we're not clear to do so, then we're not clear to do so. But I think what people have been doing is being open to smaller, adjusting to being open to catering for smaller audience or a smaller market. So that's been in the works, but it's really hard to say. To be honest, we don't know if there's going to be a second wave, right? So I'm always thinking like, okay, ahead, like what if there's a second wave and then we're back in quarantine? No one knows. So it's really, really hard. And I always say like, and you have to be upfront with your clients, but also give them hope and say, we're keeping an eye on it. As soon as things change, what I did proactively was just move all my weddings to next year because I just couldn't take a risk on hoping or move it for a month and then move it again. The worst thing you want to do to your client is to move it twice.
Yeah.
So we just took that safe step. If anything comes in for this year and it's small and I feel comfortable, my team feels comfortable, our safety is first. Like there's no amount of money that's worth your life. So during this time, instead of worrying so much about weddings, do those things we're talking about and start thinking of other ways that you can tap into your talent that can still help you generate money. I've recommended for a few people, if you've been doing, maybe as a planner, what can you do? Can you create an ebook guide for people that typically will not hire a planner? Would they maybe buy that? Can you create a timeline service for people that there's a huge population of brides and grooms that do not hire planners and probably never will. But can they buy from you? Can you create products that they can purchase from you using your? If you're not creating talent, you're just using the talent you already have, right? Maybe we tap into that, or can you offer Zoom services to those people, or you have a 2-hour consultation where you help them create timelines? And your fee is cheaper than it would cost you to hire a wedding planner. They weren't going to do it anyway, but can they use you still without you leaving your home? Absolutely. So those are places where we need to start tapping into while people are managing. This is a pandemic. Like there is no prediction at this point. There's other cities are going back up. There's another spike because of summer and all that stuff. So who knows? If it gets to a bad point, they're going to shut it down again. So I can't rely on what's coming, what we hope will, right? We just have to be always, think not negative way, but think about the worst and plan for the worst. And you have to take it day by day, but you have to be on top of things. But in the meantime, we can't sit. Like, you have to start getting creative and looking for those opportunities and taking those opportunities when they arise. So that's my
Tell me.
I know people want to like, oh, it's going to be okay. I'm like, it's going to be okay. I just don't know when.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
We unfortunately don't have the crystal ball. We wish we would,
Yeah, if I did, I'd be a lot richer. But yeah, or I'll be rich. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, I know it's a little bit a hot pot to talk about that, but I mean, like, we all see in the news, like the political situation as well in America, and there's lots of things going on from the president until like Black Lives Matter. And is this in a certain way also affecting the industry? And if yes, like how?
It's affecting the industry in a way, in a positive way, I hope, where there is more awareness to lack of opportunity or recognition of Black wedding industry people. So these conversations are coming up. I have to do 2 more lives later today, and we're talking about the same thing. Last week, all week on my podcast, for 5 days straight, that's all I talked about. For a while, the truth is, like, Black event professionals have to work 10 times harder than the white person. And, and it's been like that for years, and everyone has just kind of managed that. But in reality, that's not fair. Everyone is just as talented. Everyone needs equal, opportunity. And it's unacceptable, in my opinion, that we work in an industry and we live in a world where there is no opportunity just because of the color of your skin, or you're paid less, or clients, or or people charge you more even because of that. And that is a problem. If you look at conferences that are majority white, the speakers, you barely have one Black speaker there, but and there's some amazing talented people in our industry of color. So I feel like that's coming up in conversations, and we're seeing changes here and there. And my hope is that it's long term and it's not just a band-aid that's been put on, or just trying to save face so you don't look bad. But when you look at magazines, I would grab the nearest bridal magazine and look at the cover. Look at the weddings that are featured. There's a lack of representation of Black clients, Black couples, Black brides, Black event professionals, and it's not because of a lack of talent. It's just
definitely not
because of the color of the skin. So that's happening right now, where that's being addressed, and I hope that change comes from it, and long-term change, not just, I'm curious to see this time next year what conversations we'll be having. And it's my hope that people are learning and listening and digging deep, and they're truly being honest with what's happening, and not just doing it out of like, oh, let me also post my black screen and hashtag Black Lives Matter, and then your next post is the next, white model again. It's like you you don't ignore, but it's nice to do a mix. You look at blogs and you look at magazines and blogs, and I mean, thankfully we've had Mona Lisa, several magazines that have really stepped up. Mona Luci's been they celebrated 10 years, and they've been doing just that. They had to create a magazine just because there wasn't representation. That shows you how bad the problem is.
Yeah, I know. I remember when Jackie was like 5 years ago, she was our speaker on our first luxury wedding conference that we hosted, and she actually explained like how they started in a garage, and with her copies that she bought and never actually had people to
10,000 podcast, and we had an hour long or hour and a half conversation, and she shared her story. And it's when you hear it, you're like, wow, So I give her huge kudos for doing the hard work, because anyone would have quit. Like, you know what, this is why am I the one going through all of this? So it's so deep in our industry that we're just not. If we really wanted to face all the realities of that problem, it's I say, my thing is, I'm like, look at your list, look at the people that you feature, look at the people that you work with, look at your team, and ask yourself if you've actually embraced diversity. And the answer is no.
I think we all wish, or this is our wish actually, to have a future where you don't even have to think about like who is who. Right. Because we are all human. No matter brown, black, yellow, white, whatever we are all human. And I think I don't know if it's a dream that we have, but don't call me a dreamer. But I personally, like, when people ask me, sometimes I don't see a color, and I wish a lot of people would see it the same way and
see the person before
see
anything,
the person
I
before.
think that is
I would say, like, if anything, like, seeing color is fine. Like, if you're seeing me, I see you, you're white, I'm black. There's nothing wrong with that. It's about embracing their uniqueness and seeing their talent and getting to know that person, because everybody just assumes, oh, black, blue are the same. I'm like, no, we're different. We have different ethnicities. My background is completely different. I spent my childhood in Nigeria, so my entire experience is different. Each person is unique in their own way. So instead of categorizing in just one big pond of Black people, get to know people individually, get to know people's talents, get to know their business, get out of your comfort zone, and start and try to learn the challenges so you can understand the problem. And then you start to look at yourself in your house and see what you're doing. It might just be something people like, I'm ashamed to see that now. I'm like, it took you 10 years to know that you've never worked with one Black vendor in your entire career. That's baffling that you've never seen that. It took a whole movement on social media for you to actually acknowledge that. So the fact that it wasn't even in the back of your mind, it just is the first problem, or one of them. So I think that everyone needs to take a hard look at themselves, work internally, and then when we all do the work, the industry would be fine.
Just be open-minded. I think when people are open-minded, that's the first step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. But having an open mind means you need an open heart. So that's another conversation.
That's another podcast.
I'm saying I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to hold you accountable to the things you're saying. And in another year, we'll have a different conversation. But it's my hope that it's better. It's my hope that, things are different in the industry. And, like a Black person in the industry should not have to work 3 times harder and for less than a white person doing the same thing. That makes no sense to me.
No.
No,
No.
it's the
You know
same
what I
like
mean?
women. Like women should not work harder than men for the same thing. It's the same.
You
It's
know?
exactly for me. This is exactly the same situation, even if it's
Yeah.
not the same situation, but
Yeah.
it's the same like topic. You know, like
Mhm.
I have a one final question. Actually, we have been on a African like chat yesterday with lots of African like event planner, and the question was. Will luxury as we know or luxury events, will that still be the same after COVID?
Of
And
course.
what is your opinion about that?
I don't think luxury is going anywhere. Like what I'm saying is two things. The people that have the money are not going to change their lifestyle. They're not changing the expectation. They might want even more. So I'm seeing our clients that the budget hasn't changed and they're just hoping, like, I hope COVID doesn't come back, and you know what I mean, like, so that's
Yes.
it. Now there's a different type of clientele that you see now who would maybe save and save and save to have this big lavish wedding where you truly can't afford it. So now they're coming to realization, like, maybe I should just have a small wedding. And there's nothing wrong, by the way, with having a small
Yeah.
wedding. Like my last blog, I wrote about how intimate and can still be luxurious. And actually, when you make it smaller, you're able to use your dollars for a better experience for your guests and trying to stretch it out for 300
For
people
the
when you know you cannot afford it. But luxury is not changing, in my opinion. I feel like people want what they want. There's a rise in online shopping, but there's people are not making money, but people are still buying things and they're shopping. So people want what they want. And, it's just a matter of who now it'll be clear on who can afford it and who cannot afford it.
No,
Because
I totally agree with
Yes.
you. And also like you can be like, or you can have a much more luxury wedding when it's intimate because you can go much more in detail.
so now luxury is for everyone, right? I mean, luxury always has been for everyone. It was just a matter of, can you afford it? So if you throw a beautiful dinner or reception or wedding for 30 people, 50 people, imagine how those invitations, the menus, the details, the experience, the cuisine, in the end, you're going to end up with a beautiful wedding regardless of the size. So my
Yeah.
last blog was focused on the guest experience versus the size, because that's why I've always hoped people would take their mindset too. It doesn't have to be 250. You cannot afford it. Like, you're frustrated, we're frustrated for you. We don't know how to help you. We want to help you. But and the first time, like, can we cut the guests? No. Okay. So how can I help you? Like, you don't want to cut on the guest list. You don't have more money and you want luxury. It just doesn't work. The math is not adding up. So now we're able to say, have a wedding for 50 and I can make it the most beautiful, intimate wedding you've ever had. And your guests would never forget it. And then, if you have the money, we go big. Those are the two directions I see going forward. Which is
And
to be honest. Yeah.
I can just let you know, we just like a week ago or 1.5 weeks ago, we created a new platform, Weddings in Africa.
Oh,
And
cool.
we personally believe that also a kind of a luxury for people from outside of Africa is to have a wedding in Africa, and it can be very much different. It can be in a bush, it can be on Table Mountain, it can be at the Victoria Falls, it can be at the Masai Mara, it can be wherever. And we want to encourage people to explore Africa. And if ever you have a couple that wants to get married in Africa, just let us know. We would be very happy to
That's
work with
amazing.
you.
Well, congrats. Look at that innovation. Good for you. No, but I love it. Like I was saying, I've never been to South Africa, and there's so much beauty. Like I want to explore. Even when doing destination weddings, there's so many beautiful locations that we haven't even tapped into yet. So by even building these connections, we're even maybe able to do a virtual tour through you guys, or get introduced to a property, like those properties there. So that's the beauty of our communities. We can connect anywhere in the world. But I think that's pretty fantastic because people want to do it. Sometimes they just like, where do I start? Where do I go?
And also, like what we have discovered is, and in particular in America, I mean, a lot of Europeans know South Africa or Africa because they come here for holidays, you know, so they fall in love with Africa as its continent. And they come then back maybe also for their weddings. But a lot of Americans, even though that, and that was very surprising to me when Munalushi came here for the coterie, that a lot of like people of color, where they have roots here in Africa, they never have been in Africa. They never know about Africa. They don't even, like, they are scared about Africa, what I have seen actually. And I want to break down this wall for a lot of people, because there's so much beauty here, and you can get really good value for your money in Africa to have a wedding here. And it's a once in a lifetime thing, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I hope that we, in the future, starting now, we start to explore these new, like, beautiful locations. And you guys are amazing for doing that. I think it's just going to open up doors to bring people in and, you know, try new things and explore beautiful places that we haven't even tapped into. Yeah, for sure. Hopefully I can do a conference in South Africa. We'll see. But that's my goal too, is just to step out. I got to get out this crazy anyway. And like, let's go somewhere beautiful and peaceful and, you know, expose ourselves to culture, you know, get to know other cultures, get out of your comfortable place and learn more. So yeah, that's awesome.
That's great.
Thank you.
This is what I always say, when you have an open heart, you have an open mind, and then you can travel, because you will broaden your horizon and you will just bring back so much more wherever you go, like back to your home. That is actually the one thing that is also like worth more than any education, you know, when you go out and just meet different people from different cultures, when you see how they do life, how they think, how they work. And I think this also will break down barriers, because this will help people to understand each other and to understand where people are coming from and why they maybe have like certain reactions, or why they have certain thoughts. And I do believe traveling is the best, like whether it's in the personal capacity or for business. So you're more than welcome anytime when you want to come, particularly obviously to South Africa, but we are more than happy to also like assist in any other African countries.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you so much.
For sure. I'm going to take you up on that offer, but that's on my list. So hopefully, depending on when everyone is comfortable with traveling, you know, I personally just want to explore and see what's out there. And it's great for your business too. People see you traveling and they trust that you can handle.
I have an idea for you. When this happens, when we can travel, actually. I don't know if I talked about that when we met in Nigeria. I'm not 100% sure if I told you. We will have, or we are planning in October, a rose safari to Kenya. And we are going with people, they are interested in flowers as well as in Africa. We are going to visit Tambuzi Rose Farm in Kenya. This is one of the farms that we are working for Garden Roses. And we will have a floral designer from London with us for one day. And then we go for another couple of days in the Masai Mara in a very exclusive, luxurious camp to go and see the animals.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh yeah, I definitely want that information. You had me.
I will send you some information, and maybe if you find some more people they love Africa and flowers, we'll be happy to welcome you.
Of course, and actually see that happen. I think that would be great content too. Farmer was like, every opportunity to create content, so for sure.
You know, like a dinner in rose fields. Can you imagine to have like an evening dinner in the rose fields, and you have set your own tables with the flower arrangement that you have done on the day?
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's so fantastic. Well, count me in. Let's talk about it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys Thank you so much, and thank you for doing.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your honesty. And thank you also for your insights. To listen to you. So thank you so safe, stay healthy,
Thank
and
you.
we'll send you that information.
For sure. Take care.